It is Wednesday, April 14th, 7 p.m. here in Washington, D.C., and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's edition of Nation's Pastime in the nation capital, WCUA's only baseball-centric talk show. I'm your host, Andrew Snaith, and here with my co-hosts, James Higgins and Robbie Cruz, and we have another exciting week of regular season baseball to break down for you tonight. But first, before we get to that, thank you all so much for tuning in. At a little bit of a weird time here, 7 p.m. on Wednesday. We normally are live every Thursday night here on WCUA at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is going to be a one-time thing. We are going to go right back to those Thursday shows right after this, so feel free to catch us there next week as well. And while we have you here, go ahead, follow us on Twitter. That's going to be at NatPastimeCap. Get all of the updates for our shows, all of the shows from the past posted there in archive form on YouTube, and more things. So go ahead, follow us on Twitter. That is at NatPastimeCap. And if you want to call in at all during tonight's show or any show to discuss what we're talking about or anything baseball related, that number is 202-319-5106, 202-319-5106. Well, with that out of the way, guys, we have another week of regular season baseball, and it feels so good and so normal to be back and doing this weekly with baseball games to watch every single night.
Absolutely, man. Even though this season hasn't gone according to plan for some teams, this has still been an exciting season to say nonetheless.
This has been a great season so far. Phenomenal season. But seriously, with fans back in every stadium, it's been great. The Nationals lifting their capacity to 25% starting tomorrow. That's great for the local baseball here. And it's just, honestly, it's been exciting to see the new rule changes kind of fully in place. You know, not a weird season, not a shortened season, whatever. You know, we get to fully see the extra inning rule go into full effect and see how it really affects teams over the course of a long season, the doubleheader rule, and there's just been a lot of exciting storylines going into the season that we'll break down tonight. Akil Baddoo keeping it up, another bomb last night.
That legend will never die, it seems like.
Yeah, I know. What a performance by Akil Baddoo. Just overall, you know, these are his first 8 major league games, and he's hit 4 home runs. I mean, what a story.
What an absolutely great story out of Detroit. And we're going to have 3 segments just like last week here. We're going to look at some of the news around the league. We're going to highlight our favorite and best performances of the week. And then we'll have another dugout discussion talking about some of the hottest and most controversial issues in the game currently happening. And gentlemen, once we get to that tonight, we have a rather controversial one to talk about, I would say. And we're not going to get into that just yet. But do stick around the halfway point of the show because you're not going to want to miss that discussion. So let's get right into it now with some news around the league. I have a couple things I want to highlight here, and I know I got the guys next to me who also want to bring up some of their own points as well. But look, guys, we have to start with one thing that happened over the past week, and that is, of course, what Joe Musgrove did in Texas.
That was absolutely unbelievable. I will say, Joe Musgrove, his stuff looks absolutely sensational right now with the Padres. I'm almost seeing like a Garrett Cole type of resurgence with the Padres.
He hasn't given up a run since September 15th of last year. He has 31 and I think it's 31 and 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. He's kind of budding into a third ace out there in San Diego, and just, you know, in Houston when he started off, he was mainly used as a bullpen guy or a fifth starter, and he wasn't able to fully blossom. And then obviously Pittsburgh, I don't know if anyone ever really flourishes in Pittsburgh. But now that we're getting to see the full effects of his talents on a team like the Padres, look, I mean, you can see the resurgence that he's had. I don't want to say resurgence, but you can see the breakout that he's fully having. He's finally able to be himself, to just go out there. You know, he's really mixing up his stuff well, and he's finally playing on a winning baseball team, which must be exciting for him. But congratulations to him, the first no-hitter in the history of the San Diego Padres franchise. That's incredible that they still hadn't thrown a no-hitter before last Friday night. An incredible performance, and he was a Joey Gallo hit batsman away from a perfect game. And he's been locked in so far this year, and arguably the best pitcher in baseball through the first 3 starts of this year.
Well, like you said, he's really blossoming into another ace out there in San Diego. And you got to stop and think about how good that Padres rotation is, and the fact that they don't even have Mike Clevenger right now. They still have another piece that's going to be added to this rotation when he's healthy, and that is, to me, absolutely scary.
And they are, record-wise, they are a top 3 team in baseball, and they're in second place. I mean, that just goes to show how good the Dodgers are, and really, like, how unfortunate it is for the Padres. And, like, obviously it's great competition, but, like, if they were in any other division, they would be in first place, and it wouldn't even be close. Like, that's just how steep that competition is out west, and how exciting that division race is really going to be all season long.
Yeah, right before, actually, the Padres-Dodgers series happened, I believe it's this week, they just upped the capacity. So there's going to be more fans there, and I saw resale price for those tickets going anywhere from $200 to $600.
Dude, this
already.
is playoff baseball in April. Why wouldn't you want to go?
That's beautiful. It really is. Robbie, I got to ask you now. Let's take a look at this trade because you've been a guy who I think over the years has been quite a fan of the Pirates, right, Robbie?
Oh, I love the Pirates.
Man,
They're my second favorite team.
You have some of your favorite players of all time on the Pirates there, so want to ask your opinion. Let's talk about that three-way trade that sent Joe Musgrove to the San Diego Padres, and viewing it now after that no-hitter, what are you thinking about it? And just to refresh, in case anyone on air is not aware, that was a three-way trade that sent Lucchesi to the New York Mets, sent Musgrove, of course, to the Padres, and then the Pirates got 5 prospects: Rodriguez, Head, Cruz, Fellows, and Bednar.
See, I could very well see this becoming a Garrett Cole situation 2.0, as I said earlier in the show. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Musgrove is going to be as good as Garrett Cole became, but I really do think that Musgrove is going to change his game with the Padres. And at first, when the trade happened, I liked it from the Padres' perspective. You get a guy who's been really good the last few, towards the end of the season, he was really good. He showed a lot of promise, showed a lot of potential, and I really like that trade. However, I did not think he was going to be this good. Now, granted, he's only had, 3 starts?
Yeah, I believe. Has it been 3 so far?
3, okay, so 3 starts.
Tonight's his third.
So that's a very small sample size, so I don't think we should jump the gun. However, I really do think that he's got some really good stuff, and I think he's going to be a great pitcher for the Padres in the future. And I think they re-signed him once they traded for him. Is that correct?
Did they?
I think he still has 2 more years.
Oh,
left
he
on
still
the
has 2 more
deal,
years? Okay.
Yeah.
See, I thought that they re-signed him, but either way, he's under contract for a little bit longer, so I think that's good.
But he doesn't have to keep performing like this for it to be a Garrett Cole 2.0 because he's not expected to put up godlike numbers like Garrett Cole did in Houston. Like he's gonna be the Padres' 3rd starter this year, and he's gonna probably be their 3rd or 4th when Clevenger comes back next year.
Well, that's a good point. I'd actually argue, though, was Garrett Cole really expected to be that when he went to Houston?
Before he came to Houston, he had a 4.26 ERA with the Pirates, and wasn't even a strikeout
But I would say
pitcher.
the untapped potential for Cole was always there because he was a former number 1 overall pick.
Of
He made an all-star team in Pittsburgh. He had a couple top 10 Cy Young finishes. Like, it was always there, and the Astros were just waiting for him to unlock him, I would say. I don't think Musgrove had those same expectations. Obviously, he didn't. But going back to last September, his scoreless streak has spanned 31 1/3 inning. His strikeout per 9 is really high, and his strikeout to walk ratio is also really high. He's keeping the walks down. He's commanding the baseball well, controlling the baseball well, really hitting his spots. And if the Padres can have this kind of performance from Joe Musgrove all year to go along with Darvish and Snell, oh boy. Like that just, I mean, you expected a solid performance out of Joe Musgrove, but you didn't expect this type of performance. And if he can keep it up at this level, if he can have a Corbin Burns 2020 type breakout, and we'll get to him in a minute, that's just another weapon for the Padres that is going to be deadly come the postseason.
See, I agree with James full-heartedly. My thing with Joe Musgrove is, I think that, yes, he is going to be, he's probably one of the best number 4 starters in baseball right now.
Best.
Yeah, you put him in the back end of the rotation, absolutely filthy. The big reason I don't think he's going to become Garrett Cole 2.0 is very simple. When Garrett Cole came to Houston, he came to a team that was known for transforming pitchers into really good pitchers. And with San Diego, he's going to Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach. I don't think Larry Rothschild is a good pitching coach, and I just don't think
why.
You're telling me. Did you see what happened with Blake Snell the other day?
Yes.
Last night against the Pirates.
Yeah, he got yanked after getting only 2 outs, and he was like yelling in the dugout.
That's pretty sad.
I just Larry Rothschild ruins careers. I don't think he's obviously I think Musgrove is going to be great for the Padres, but I don't think he's going to become that great because he's going into a team with a pitching coach that I don't believe is that good. He doesn't make pitchers better.
Yeah, very fair, very fair.
Well, on that note, Blake Snell is good enough where he doesn't need a Larry Rothschild in his ear all the time. And I think part of the reason why they pulled him after 30 pitches last night was they knew who he was facing next. They want to save his bullets and let him really get it right, in his side sessions this week, because the last time he faced the Dodgers, his team should have won the game if he wasn't pulled. And that's all.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't think about it. This is going to be his rematch with the Dodgers this upcoming weekend.
And last night he said he was very much looking forward to it. Yeah, this Sunday he's facing the Dodgers.
That's going to be a great series. If you're looking for one to watch this weekend, Padres-Dodgers, my goodness, that's going to be a real good one.
I don't think
James
that's Sunday
said,
Night Baseball.
Is that not Sunday Night Baseball? You know what? Honestly, though, are you surprised? With how ESPN handles the nation's pastime?
Who's on Sunday Night Baseball then?
Who knows? It's probably like the Cardinals or Cubs. Let's be honest, or the Yankees.
I hope it's not the Yankees.
It's the it's the Braves and the Cubs. The Padres-Dodgers will be Sunday Night Baseball the following week, so they're probably playing 2 weekend series in a row. Only do them once. That's
all right. Fine, I'll give them that.
Fair.
They didn't want to make it 2 weekends in a row. That's fine. Although, if I'm being completely honest, if you want to do what Manfred says and rejuvenate young interest in the game, I think you want to put that series on 2 weekends in a row because those are two pretty dang good teams, but you know what? I am not Rob Manfred. I'm not the person who owns and decides those things for ESPN, so I will not say any more. Anything final on Joe Musgrove before we move on? Because we got a lot more to talk about for news.
No, he's just going to keep it rolling.
I agree. A fantastic piece for that Padres rotation that's only going to be added once Mike Clevenger comes back. A quick reminder before we get into our next segment, if you want to call in, talk about anything baseball related while we're on the air, that number is 202-319-5106. That's 202-319-5106. So a little bit of a fun one here, just something I thought I'd throw in here just because of how weird and interesting it was. You guys know what Zach Greinke did this weekend? He did something. He did something that hasn't been done since 2008.
What is it? His 51-mile-an-hour
It was
eephus?
indeed. He threw the
pitch,
slowest pitch since 2008, a 51-mile-per-hour eephus against, I don't even remember who's playing. I guess it was the Tigers, right? Was he playing the Tigers?
No, I think it might have been Oakland.
It was Oakland, actually. I think you're right. So, just going to ask you, connecting to Zach Greinke, this is obviously a Hall of Fame pitcher who's nearing the end of his big contract. Assuming it's a solid year for him, which it really hasn't looked like it's been so far.
No, he has not been good. No.
Assuming he bounces back and has an okay Zach Greinke type year, what kind of deal do you see this guy getting? Like a Jake Arrieta short-term deal, a 1-year prove me? What do you think?
I would say it's a 1-year prove me, probably again with Houston just to shore up their pitching down there. He's comfortable down there. Obviously that's a huge thing for Greinke given his I don't know what, like, his anxiety with the media. I don't know what else to call it. His lack of comfort with the media, I should say. And that's something, obviously, that needs to be taken very seriously because it is a serious thing, but that's also something that Greinke is going to need to be aware of because he's not going to want to go to a big market, even if the Yankees could use that pitching depth, even if the Padres could use it to, bolster their rotation because why not? Even if someone like that, obviously he handled the media with the LA Dodgers, but going to a New York or a Boston or Chicago would be a completely different beast.
Yeah, I believe a big reason for his no-trade clause and his deal with the Diamondbacks originally was because of his anxiety.
Yeah, and it was to a lot of those big market teams like New York, Boston, all those teams that, have been contenders and will really compete, but the media will get on them. But speaking of pitchers, of the last generation who are coming up in free agency this year, Kershaw and Scherzer. What a pitching matchup on Sunday. And if those two continue to have the years that they're having so far, what are they going to command in free agency?
Wait, I think Scherzer's pitching on Friday.
I believe he is.
No, he pitched.
He just pitched against.
Oh,
Kershaw.
you're saying this past Sunday?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you meant this upcoming Sunday. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you that, Robbie. I got to get your take on this because those are two guys, like James said, if they have the years that they're projected to have, but they're also in their upper 30s.
I mean, Kershaw's only 34.
Well, okay.
He was
he's
born in
Clayton
1988.
Kershaw. I'm going to talk more about Max Scherzer. Then he's what, 37, 36?
Yeah, he'll be 30.
1984.
He'll be 37 next offseason. But like, if Scherzer has another Scherzer year, I mean,
yeah. But if he has another Scherzer year, does that mean you give him 3-4 years?
I would.
I would.
He probably wants that.
He probably wants that. I think you kind of go 2 with a high AAV like Bauer.
Honestly, I could see all three of those pitchers signing 1 to 2 year deals on contending teams that need that final presence in their rotation.
Including Zach Greinke. I don't see Greinke leaving the Astros.
Well, that's fair.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't see any of those three guys leaving. I don't see Scherzer leaving the Nationals. I don't see Kershaw leaving the Dodgers, and I definitely don't see Zach Greinke leaving the Astros. I think out of the three, though, the guy who's most likely going to leave, it would probably be Zach Greinke.
I would say so.
Because Greinke has a tendency to bounce around from team to team. He's been with the Royals, the Brewers, the Angels, the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks.
He's been everywhere.
The Astros. Whereas Kershaw, he's never left the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw's never leaving the Dodgers. Let's be real. Max Scherzer, I don't see him ever leaving the Washington Nationals because why would he? What reason does Scherzer have of leaving the Nationals? I mean, he's going to enter the Hall of Fame as a Washington National has no reason. I think that all three of those guys are going to get either 2 or 3 year deals and they're going to have a high AAV.
All right. Very fair. I like the point indeed brought up there by James about those other two. It's going to be an interesting year for those Hall of Fame pitchers of our generation type guys who are hitted the market at a very old age. So let's keep in the AL West for my final segment I want to talk about, and then you guys can throw in anything you want as well. I know we have some specific subjects that want to be brought up in this room, but I just want to touch base on the Angels because right now they have sole possession of first place in the AL West for the first time since 2018, and I got to say, it's been a pretty good start for LA. You got your superstars hitting over there. You have Jared Walsh, who's putting on a ridiculous show night after night. Guys slashing 367, 547, 733 with 3 home runs. everything seems to be going right now in LA.
And how about the show Shohei Ohtani is putting on just offensively?
Yeah.
I mean, every night it seems like he's doing something, whether it's he's got 4 bombs on the year. His exit velo on the double 2 nights ago was 119 miles an hour off the bat. He beat out the ground ball to shortstop for an infield single. I mean, he's showing off his complete array of talent, and this is one of the most unique skill sets the game has ever seen. And it's so fun to watch because he's finally healthy and doing it every single night.
I mean, I'm just saying, who was my sleeper MVP pick?
Shohei Ohtani.
He wasn't just
look,
yours.
Look, he's killing it for my fantasy team. That's all I can say.
You see, I remember, this is a side note, when he first became a player in the league and fantasy baseball had to make a rule. I don't know if you guys know this. It was on ESPN I was playing where you had to choose if you were going to have him as a pitcher or a star.
I remember
I
that.
thought that was hilarious because he is just that valuable of a guy. He was going in the first round before he even debuted because people just saw the potential, the points he could get. Guy could pitch, give you 30 points or whatever on a night, and then hit every other day as a DH. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I picked him, I think, in the 6th round this year because of his injury stuff.
Wow,
and
that's a
I got
good pick.
steal.
That was a good pick.
But going back to the Angels, I mean, look at the offensive consistency they're getting from everyone besides Mike Trout. Obviously, you know what you're going to get from Trout, and he's putting up another Mike Trout year.
Got 5 homers already, 4?
Exactly.
Yeah.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah.
But you have Ohtani finally producing consistently, Anthony Rendon, Jared Walsh. The Angels are finally realizing he's a better option than Albert Pujols. Even Justin Upton to come up with a few clutch hits. I mean,
Hey, don't forget my guy Fletcher.
David Fletcher, yeah.
Great play.
Bad
great
play to
play.
end the game last night.
No, that was not good.
bad.
But overall, when they're clicking on all cylinders, they're a dangerous team offensively. And Dylan Bundy's finally put it together in L.A.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is he technically their ace
Yes.
if you don't
Yes,
consider
he started opening
Shohei?
day.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. But hey, he's putting it together, so good for him. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got for the news I wanted to touch on. But I know both of these guys have some stuff they want to do before we move on to the performances of the week. James, what do you want to touch on that has happened over this past week in regular season baseball?
I want to touch on two performances. The first one last night between Shane Bieber and Lucas Giolito. I mean, what a pitching matchup. I don't know if either of you guys were able to watch the game, but that was an incredible pitching matchup from both guys, 2 truly elite aces in the game. I know we throw out the word number 1 or ace a lot, but these are 2 of the premier pitchers in the game, and the game lived up to the hype. Unfortunately, it was a Tuesday in April and not a Friday or Saturday night in August or even October. First, let's start with Giolito. He went 7 innings, gave up only 3 hits, walked 2, struck out 8. And Shane Bieber, he went 9 innings, got the win because the Indians scored in the top of the 10th, only gave up 3 hits, walked 1, struck out 11. He's just the 4th pitcher in the modern era to have more than 35 strikeouts in his first 3 starts, and he's the only pitcher to do it twice. Shane Bieber did it last year. He's done it again this year, and, he's a top 3 pitcher in the game, and right now, you can make the case that besides Jacob deGrom, he is the second best pitcher in the game with Cole a close second. I mean, if you look at the performance since the start of last season, obviously, I'm not taking anything away from Garrett Cole, and he's been nails this year. But going back to the start of last season, Shane Bieber has been better than Garrett Cole.
Response, Robbie?
I have no comment.
Okay, that's fair. I mean,
meaning you agree or disagree?
I mean, I disagree, but I think it's a fair argument.
I just think you look at how locked in Bieber is and how locked in he's been since the start of last year. He's been nearly unhittable. Like, I'm surprised he hasn't thrown a no-hitter just because the way that he has his stuff moving, like the angles that he creates with his breaking ball, the way he spots up his fastball, he has command in every quadrant of the zone. His breaking ball has such sharp dip on it. He's got 2 elite breaking balls that he can go to. He's got high velocity on his fastball. I mean, he's got everything going for him. And one thing I really did want to touch on was the lack of run support for Shane Bieber and Jacob deGrom. I mean, the 2 best pitchers in the game, 2 of the 3 best pitchers in the game are getting no run support to show for it. It's absolutely criminal, especially what's going on with Jacob deGrom. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
well, it's not even criminal. It's embarrassing at some point. When you have a team with, by the way, they're not bad offenses. The Indians aren't great anymore. They lost some pieces, but the Mets
are not a
good
bad offense. Yeah.
There's no excuse.
And they score for every other pitcher. It's not like
Yeah.
they just have a problem scoring. Like, they literally score for everyone else.
It really is just absolutely embarrassing.
And sure, sometimes when your number 1 goes, like, you'll get matched up against another number 1. So it's like, if that, like last night with Bieber and Giolito, like, whatever. You throw that in the wash. But in general, it's embarrassing. And the second performance I wanted to talk about was JD Martinez, especially on Sunday. He started the season with an extra base hit in 8 consecutive games, tying an MLB record. 3-homer game on Sunday. JD is out to prove that last year was a fluke and that he's back, and he's done absolutely that.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that JD Martinez's performance was your performance of the week because that was a pretty dang good one.
Yes, it was. Well, like I'm going to highlight those two, but yes,
Okay.
It was JD Martinez. Especially the Red Sox are on track to win their 9th in a row. They're up 6-1 in the 5th inning.
Hey,
After the 0-3 start, 9 straight wins. I mean,
hey, I gotta say, for a team that's gonna finish below the Orioles, they're doing pretty good right now.
yes, and if you guys do not get that reference from a couple weeks ago, our favorite co-host, Robbie Cruz.
Do you stand by that? Still,
Yes.
you
I
do.
do.
No, I want to hear
stand by
it. Yeah, come on, I want to hear it.
Look.
Robbie, you cannot say that right now. You cannot say the Red Sox will finish below the Orioles. Look at how the Red Sox are rolling on all cylinders, and you can't just say they've beaten the Orioles or they've beaten a bad Rays team. Like, they are taking it to the Twins this series.
Wait. The Red Sox are playing well. I didn't know that. I didn't know that the Red Sox are playing well. Wait, are they really playing well?
It's been a tough week here for. We'll lay off the dogs. It has been a tough week for the Yankees. Outside of Garrett Cole, that rotation.
I wasn't even talking
not
about the
looking
Yankees.
great. No, I know.
Here,
I'm just saying in general.
I want to make a quick
Go ahead,
point.
absolutely.
There's a reason why I'm standing by my point. I think the Red Sox are going to collapse. This is going to be 2011 all over again.
Okay, well, to be fair, this is also April, so like if something were to happen, like nobody would. Like, this is not some historic thing.
Hey, that's not his point, though. He's just saying they're collapse. He didn't say why.
All right, well, they will not collapse, and I will hold you to this. Like, if they end up making
right.
the playoffs, which I do have them making the playoffs,
I'm willing to put 5 cases on it.
I'm not taking anything because I'm not gonna let you do this to yourself. But look,
No.
look, the way the Red Sox are are playing right now, they're winning games in all different sort of fashions. The offense will continue to hit, and they've been hitting on all cylinders. The bullpen has been performing really well. How about Matt Barnes? I mean, Matt Barnes, he only has 2 saves because of the way they've been winning games, but he struck out 12. He's only walked 2. He's only allowed 3 base runners.
He looks like a new baseball player.
Last year, he had the second highest K per 9 in baseball for relievers.
Only second to
Josh Hader.
Yeah, it was good K per 9.
No, exactly, but he's putting it all together this year. Like,
that's what I'm
you've
saying,
seen it in pieces for the last couple of years, but this year, he looks like an elite lockdown reliever. And shout out to Eduardo Rodriguez. Meant to talk about that last week. Coming back, his first start since 2019 in almost 18 months from his bout with COVID-19 last year. He pitched well against the Orioles last week, and tonight he had another good start against Minnesota. But right now they're rolling on all cylinders. Christian Vasquez, as we highlighted last week. Alex Verdugo, great game-saving catch today, and he's finally starting to pick it up. Rafael Devers had hit a home run in 4 consecutive games before that streak ended today, but he's finally rolling. I mean, when this offense rolls, they have 4, legit stars in that offense hitting 2, 3, 4, 5, and Verdugo, Martinez, Bogarts, and Devers. I mean, and then obviously Vasquez to go there to add to it at 6. And I just think the way they're hitting right now, they're a threat. They're a legitimate threat to the other teams in the American League vying for one of those wild card spots.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I am being shown a wonderful update letting me know by Robbie here that the Phillies are once again down in the first. Nothing new. I'm not even going to talk about the Phillies this week. That's not true, actually. We're going to talk about something that happened involving the Phillies. But we're not there yet. Robbie, anything else before we close out this segment? Because I really want to highlight some great performances of the week. Anything you want to add? Anything we missed?
No, the only thing I really want to just say is I'm absolutely disgusted right now. I'm absolutely disgusted with the New York Yankees for several reasons. I'm going to keep this very brief because I know we got other things to talk about. Right now, the New York Yankees suck. We suck. We suck. I cannot emphasize that enough. Do you understand that right now they have no heart, no soul, no energy, no passion, and it has nothing to do with the fact that Jay Bruce is hitting 113 right now. It has nothing to do with the fact that Aaron Hicks, our number 3 hitter from last year, isn't even hitting 150 this season. It has nothing to do with the fact that Giancarlo Stanton looks like Marlon Byrd up at the plate at 44 years of age. It has nothing to do with the fact that we have an ERA as a starting rotation of over 6.50 after Garrett Cole. It has nothing to do with the fact that we have the best bullpen in baseball, and that's not fixing anything. It has nothing to do with that. We have no heart, no passion, no soul. They are playing like garbage. They don't care right now, folks. Right now, the New York Yankees do not care about losing. They do not care about anything. They are okay with losing. They're okay with being in last place because guess what? We all had the Yankees finishing in first place. Jameson Taillon last night called out the Yankees pitching staff. Jameson Taillon said, Yankee pitching has to be better. Where were you last night, Jameson?
Look, I think the one thing that you can take in stride here is that, look, 2019 they won over 100 games. They started 6-9. 2018 they won 100 games. They started 5-8. So it's like obviously the Yankees are not performing up to their standards right now, and it's been tough for their fans to watch. But it's not like they haven't started slow the last 2 seasons where it's been a full season and they haven't taken off after that. I think, obviously, you're going to deal with nagging injuries from Judge as they've been dealing with whole year, the past few years. But 2 homers today, that's an encouraging sign for him. Obviously after a slower start, but they've started slow the last couple seasons and they found a way to rebound. And once they take off, they take off for good. So I think for them, it's just about finding their footing right now. And they've played only divisional games, and that will continue until next Tuesday. So maybe once they get out of the division, it'll start to get some sort of, not seeing the same opponents will help them. And I think once they find their footing and take off, they'll be just fine.
See, I want to say that, but here's the problem.
Dude, they're
when
too
they've
talented
started,
not to.
No, but that's the thing. Right now, the Yankees are all talent and no heart. And the reason why I'm so frustrated with this year compared to years past is because in the past, they've actually played hard in the beginning. They were fighting in games. Right now, watch Yankee games. There's no energy, no motivation. Nobody cares. You understand that right now they're playing like a minor league team? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right now.
I mean, I can argue.
Right now we are going to Albert Abreu out of the bullpen. Albert Abreu has been one of our most consistent arms. Nick Nelson is a guy we're going to. These are bums that nobody knows about. These guys belong in the minor leagues. And right now, we're expecting them to come in and make a grand impact, which that's not the kind of player they are. And it's a real darn shame because Gary Sanchez right now is playing really well, and I guarantee you Sanchez does not spend the entire season hitting this well. That's it for me.
All right. Thank you very much, Robbie, for that insight on what's going on inside the New York Yankees organization right now. I will say, as tough as it has been for Yankees fans over the past 2 weeks, I don't think there's anyone with a brain in baseball who doesn't think they're not winning the division.
See, I
really don't.
Bro, I have questions. I legitimately have questions about us winning the division.
Well, and dude, they're gonna be fine. Like I know you're invested in it. I know you're frustrated, but look, they're gonna be fine. Once they take off, they're gonna take off. They'll probably reel off 8 in a row at some point, drop 1, win another 7 in a row. Like once they win 17 out of 19 or something, dude, they're gonna be fine. Like we're gonna.
So, are we going to expect Corey Kluber's stuff to come back? I don't know if you watch.
No, okay, look.
His stuff is not there anymore.
The one problem the Yankees do have, and it's a legitimate problem, I still do think they will be fine. They might not. Obviously they've gotten off to a slow start, but the one problem they do have is pitching outside of Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole has been an absolute stud to start the year. He's 2-0 in 18 and a third innings pitched. He's got a 1.47 ERA. His K to walks is 29-3, and he's held opponents to a 179 batting average. Now, all of their other starters, not including today, this was going into today, they have a 1-4 win-loss record in 32 2/3 innings. Their ERA is over 6. Their K to walk is 36-10, and their opponents are hitting over 300 against them. So if the Yankees are going to be where they want to be at the end of the season, we knew this going in, but they're going to have to get an arm or 2 at the deadline to shore up the rotation because for the last few years they've had pitching rotation depth. They got Cole. That gave them a solidified number 1, but it didn't necessarily fix the depth issues that they had because Taillon hasn't worked out so far. Still a young season, but Taillon hasn't been what they thought he was going to be so far. Kluber has not been even close to what they thought he was going to be, and if this stuff continues for both Taillon, Kluber, and the rest of the Yankees rotation, they're going to have a major issue at the trade deadline.
See, and there's one other thing I want to mention about the Yankees because I think we need to stop talking about this team because it's embarrassing talking about them. I think it really is just bad for us. I don't know why we talk about this baseball team. They're not worth it, you know?
I believe you brought it up.
Okay, so one last point about the Yankees. I do think that they're going to improve. I don't think that we're going to see them play this poorly throughout the entire season. I think getting Luke Voigt back in a month is going to help us. I really believe that they're going to be fine. However, I still don't see us winning the division anymore, and that doesn't mean that we're not going to be fine because I could see us being a wild card team. I don't see Jameson, Taillon, and Corey Kluber fixing things just like that. And a lot of Yankee fans are blaming Brian Cashman for this. I think if you're blaming Brian Cashman, I think that's stupid. Brian Cashman brought in guys that we needed. We needed depth. Corey Kluber, that's a good depth pitcher. At least he was presumed to be. Jameson, Taillon, we essentially got him for free. That was another good depth pickup. Our pitching depth coming into the season, it looked fine. Right now, it looks bad. Now, I know we were also going to switch topics. One brief point. James Paxton's out for the season.
Yeah.
Getting Tommy John surgery.
That's a good point.
Very sad to hear.
Just had his nice homecoming in Seattle, and he will have that cut short.
Yeah. I know we briefly spoke about him last week.
Yeah.
And it sucks because, honestly, I could have seen him having a bounce-back season. It's a shame.
It is. It's crazy to remember that he was the guy who was traded for Sheffield and all the rest of that package. But, that's in the past now. Hopefully he's able to rebound from that and get a one-year deal next year. So that's going to wrap up our News Around the League segment. Once again, if anyone wants to call in for any reason to talk about anything baseball-related, that number is 202-319-5106. 202-319-5106. And, guys, let's briefly just very quickly give our performances of the week. We spent a little more time on the news than I thought we would, and I really want to get into the dugout discussion because I think we're going to have a lot to say about that. Performance of the week. You guys mind if I start it off? I have a pretty good one I want to highlight because this man absolutely destroyed the Texas Rangers this weekend with his performance, and that, of course, Tyler Glasnow, guys. That man, it was on a mission. 7 2/3 inning pitch, 2 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 14 strikeouts. And I got to say, if they're going to compete for another pennant, if the Rays truly are, they're going to need him to keep doing this over and over and over again after the loss of Blake
They're
Snell.
also going to have to unleash him. Like he was begging with Cash on the mound to finish the game and go over 100 pitches, and he even said in his presser after the game, like, he respects Cash, he loves him, but like he asked him, when am I ever going to be able to go over 100 pitches or go over this pitch limit? And if they want to compete for another pennant, especially with the losses of Snell and Morton, they have to fully unleash Tyler Glasnow and just let him be him. That's the biggest thing with the Rays. That's the biggest reservation I have with them because I think Glasnow is an absolute stud. But they have to completely just let him go because when he's on, he's a bona fide ace. And I think that's undisputed, especially with the way he's been performing so far this year.
Agreed. James, was your performance of the week?
Yes, I guess I jumped the gun on that. My performance of the week was Bieber, Giolito last night, and JD Martinez's 3-homer game in his opening week.
All fantastic picks. Robbie, do you have anyone you want to highlight from the past week?
Well, I was going to say, obviously the big one, Joe Musgrove throwing the no-hitter, obviously. And you guys got some of the big names that, I was thinking of. I really do want to talk about somebody who I don't think people talk about enough, and that's Phillip Evans of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Third baseman, hitting .371, on-base percentage of almost .450. The dude walks a lot, doesn't strike out, and the Pirates got him for free. So that's who I want to talk about.
How about Corbin Burns to start this year? He had another great start today.
He's looking good. He really is.
6 shutout innings, right?
Yeah, 6 shutout innings. So far in the year, he's pitched 18 1/3. He struck out 30. He's walked none, and his ERA is .49. He's, I believe, the first pitcher since 1906 to have 30 strikeouts and no walks to start a season. I mean, he really broke out last year, and this year I think he's becoming a bona fide ace. I mean, he has just looked so locked in to start this year.
See, I got to say, I have the Brewers winning that division, and if they're going to do it, it's going to be because of a guy like him. He's been absolutely amazing, and if he can keep that up, then you're going to be looking at some potential talk for a Cy Young Award right there. All right, that's going to wrap up our Performance of the Week segment, and let us move on to tonight's dugout discussion. We had a hot topic last week, which was, of course, the extra inning rules and the controversy surrounding that. We had a lot of different opinions shared about that. We even had a caller call in and share their opinion, and if you want to do that, go right ahead, 202-319-5106. And tonight's topic, let's talk about umpires and instant replay. You guys knew it was coming. If you paid attention to baseball over the past week and you're listening at home, you knew this was going to be the topic. 2 very decisive calls happened this past week. One in the Marlins-Mets game, one in the Braves-Phillies game. And I'm going to ask you guys some questions about what actually can be done about this type of thing. But before we do that, let's talk about the situations in depth of what happened. James, do you want to break down, or Robbie, it doesn't really matter to me, what happened in New York? And then I will gladly go ahead and explain what happened in Atlanta.
Which game in New York are you referring to?
The one with the call that made the baseball world explode. Michael Conforto.
Oh, sorry.
This happened right. We mentioned it briefly last week. But this was right before we went on last Thursday.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So, Michael Conforto's up at the plate. Bases loaded. What was the count? It was like 2-2.
1-2.
1-2. 1-2. I think there were 2 outs at that moment.
Yeah, there were
bases
2
loaded.
outs.
Yeah.
Bases loaded. 2 outs. It's a tie game. And there's a pitch that clearly would have hit the inside corner. Michael Conforto leans his shin guard over the heart of the plate, and the ball...
That was his arm guard, wasn't it?
Yeah, arm guard. Yeah. The ball tips his arm guard. Mets win, and the pitch... He would have struck out on that pitch. And many fans are frustrated because that call right there is not reviewable. You know, a hit by pitch like that cost the Marlins the game. And that's why so many baseball fans are frustrated, because you have a guy who clearly leaned over the strike zone and got away with the free hit by pitch and won the team the game when he probably would have struck out.
And if you actually go and watch that video, it looked like the home plate umpire was in the process of ringing him up as he then signaled that.
I mean, that's a completely devastating way for the Marlins to lose that game. Terrible call by Ron Culpa,
especially by the way with how good they've been.
With the Marlins.
Oh, they've been on a roll lately. Ever since that game.
Yeah. No, I know, but it's terrible that that's also not reviewable.
Yeah.
And that the umpires, they didn't get together and say that he leaned into it, because he clearly leaned into it, and it clearly cost the Marlins the ball game. Who knows what would have happened in extra innings, but they should not have lost then. The game should have gone to extra innings, and the game would have played out. But, I mean, obviously, if you're Conforto, you jog down to first base, you take the win. I mean, look, he was fooled on it, and he even said it after, like, he didn't know what else to do. Like, if you're him, you might as well do it. You're kind of at a no-loss situation at that point. You hope to get away with it. He did. Terrible call, but obviously a big win for the Mets. And, you know, it's just something that hopefully replay can expand even more to those kinds of calls, because that not being reviewable. Also, this was something not of consequence at all, but today the first batter of the Red Sox game, Christian Arroyo, foul tipped the ball. They said he swung and missed, and it was a drop third strike. Couldn't review it. The umpires he clearly foul tipped it. Umpires got together. They said it wasn't reviewable.
Do we know why baseball doesn't allow umpires to review all calls? Is it because of the pace of the play?
Pace of play, Robbie. We got to keep the game moving, or the kids aren't going to watch. Come on.
That call right there cost the Marlins a pretty big game.
Yeah, it did. Like I said, especially with they after that went into Atlanta as Alex Verdugo launches one into right field in Minnesota, where I have the game on here in the studio. What a shot. But that, especially after that game, as they went on a run, they went into Atlanta, and they've taken the first 2 or 3 from Atlanta.
Adam Duvall last night against his former team.
Revenge goodness. Absolutely unloading on his former Braves team. And like you said, look, it's the Marlins, but down the line, that could be a huge, if this division, say somehow the Marlins are competing and it's decided by one game between those teams, that's the one game you look at, which, by the way, that exact point was made by Matt Vasgersian on ESPN on Sunday Night Baseball with the play that happened in the Atlanta Braves and Philadelphia Phillies game. And, guys, that one, I'm not going to give... I decided this before the show. I went back and forth of if I wanted to say anything on this, because you guys have neutral ground here on all these issues. I'm the only one here who actually has maybe a little bit of bias when it comes to this. So I'm not going to give my opinion on whether I thought he was safe, whether I thought he was out, whether I thought this or that should have happened. I'm just going to state the facts, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. Alec Boehm's on third base with 1 out in the top of the 9th on Sunday's night game in Truist Park in Atlanta. And Didi Gregorius hits a fly ball to left field. Marcell Ozuna catches it, of course, known for having not the best and most accurate arm. They go ahead and send Boehm from third. He's clearly going to be gunned out until the ball skips to the plate. Darno grabs it, tries to tag Boehm. He sort of wraps around Darno and then may or may not have just nicked the edge of the plate with his foot. He's called safe. They reviewed the play. The rule, of course, in baseball is if there's not enough evidence to overturn it, then they're not going to overturn it. And that was the case. Phillies went up 6-5 and ended up winning that ball game.
See, what's frustrating to
Actually, I'm sorry, 7-6, I believe.
Yeah. What's frustrating to me is I don't think that there's a solution to this problem. Because, Andrew said he won't say whether he was safe or out. James and I both believe he was out. But the part that's frustrating is that there's no solution to this. This is just umpires being bad. That's just a blown call from instant replay. And what's sad is that this isn't the first time this season that umpires have blown a call from instant replay. The other day against the Orioles, the Yankees, I think it was, I forget who, it might have been, it was Nick Nelson pitching, I believe. Ground ball to Gleyber Torres. Torres throws it to first base. The guy was clearly out. Aaron Boone challenges it. The Yankees lose the challenge, but the thing is he was out by a mile, and then what happens? Next batter hits a 3-run home run. It's calls like that that's frustrating, and as a baseball fan. Seeing that umpires are able to use instant replay, which is something they've been fighting for the longest time, and they're still blowing calls? Are you kidding me?
So my question to you guys is, you think there's nothing that can be done. The rule right now, like I said, as it stands, is if there's not enough evidence to overturn it, then they can't overturn it. Do you make a change to that rule? Do you maybe do something with cameras? I got to be honest here. This is probably not feasible. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a tech guy. But we have drones, right? It's 2021. Why don't we have overhead views of some of these plays at the plate? Like the play with Alec Boehm. Tell me yes or no. If you have a drone or some kind of camera overhead home plate at all times, which I think you should for this exact purpose, would you not be able to tell if he's safe or out?
Yes,
instantly?
you would be able to tell
instantly.
Yes, you could, and I think he was out. I think it was pretty clear based off of the replays that we got that he was out. But I think the biggest problem is that the umpires in the New York studio do not want to go against their umpires on the field because they're all a fraternity, and I think that's the biggest problem. And there was a lot of talk on Twitter this week from former MLB players saying that a former MLB player should be running the replay studio in New York, and whoever brought up that idea first, I'm not sure who it was, but they're absolutely right because there's no bias involved there. They know the game better than anyone. Like they know how important these calls are, and they know that these calls are important, and they're going to have no bias in not wanting to go against the call in the field. They always say there's not enough evidence, this and that. A lot of it comes down to not wanting to go against the call in the field to disrespect their fellow umpires, which I think is completely terrible because
it's a problem.
Because we've seen too much of it already where it's impacted games, and that call really, I think, brought a lot of attention to it, and hopefully it continues bringing momentum towards it.
All right, Robbie, it is the year 2021, as I stated. At what point do we turn to the world of robotics to solve this problem?
See, I don't think that robotics is the solution to this problem. Okay, are you considering drones as robotics?
I'm not even saying that. I'm talking more like the whole robot umpire thing that's been thrown around for the past 10 years.
I'm in favor for that behind the plate.
But now, only behind the plate?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you still have instant replay calls to first base, and I understand that. The only problem that I have with robot umps is that players are so used to having an umpire behind the plate. When you grow up as a pitcher, you're used to seeing the umpire behind the plate.
That would be weird and
That's
jarring.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the only problem that I have with robot umps behind the plate. Otherwise, I'm in complete favor of it. I do like the idea of drones. I haven't thought about that before. And as for James's point, I think it was Trevor Palouf who was the first one to mention that, but I think that's a great idea because honestly, it's ridiculous that umpires are they're looking at these plays and they're still missing the call. Do you remember Angel? Sorry to interrupt, but
no.
Do you remember Angel Hernandez in 2012? In 2012,
wait, which one?
Indians versus Athletics.
Oh boy,
yes,
Adam Rosales hits that
yes.
ball. A call like that cost the Athletics their season. You know how many games they missed the playoffs by that year? One.
But
single game.
But there was no replay at that. It was just a home run replay.
That's what I'm saying. They replayed and they still got the call wrong.
Yeah, that was back when they actually still had it was just the crew chief review. And we're going to take a call here real quick in the studio. Caller, you're on air. Who are we talking to? Hello. Hey, caller, you're on the air. Nation's Pastime and Nation's Capital. Who are we talking to?
Oh, what's up?
I think.
All right, we're having some problems here with the phone, so looks like if that caller wants to go ahead and call back and try again, we will be glad to take the call. Looking like some problems here, though. That number, of course, by the way, if you do want to, that's 202-319-5106. But yes, a good point with the Angel Hernandez and Adam Rosales call back in, what was it, 2013, I think, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So, back when it was still only crew chief review, they didn't have the whole replay thing going yet in baseball.
See, that's my problem with it right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That ball was clearly a home run. You remember the play I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, of course.
That was a home run by a mile. And even with instant replay, they're still getting that call wrong. And that's not the first time they've gotten a call wrong with instant replay. That's my concern. And that's a human mistake. Like, that's a problem with the umpires.
So
that's my big problem.
That's the thing, though. The fact of the matter is umpires, as long as we don't use robots, are going to be humans. So do you make a change to the rule that says, hey, we need evidence to overturn what was on the field? Because if you think about it, that rule is essentially saying that they have full faith in the umpire that they're almost always going to be right. And we have the caller back here again. We're going to try to get them on the air. Caller, you're on the air, Nation's Pastime, Nation's Capital. Who are we talking to?
I talked to one of James' players.
What's up, Rowan?
Hands greatest in the history of game of baseball. Rowan.
Hello.
You guys talked about
All right, we're having some problems with that caller there, unfortunately. Sorry that we can't take that call there. Hopefully we'll be able to get that sorted out. Seems like a problem with the caller's landline or cellular device, unfortunately. But let's keep the conversation moving here about the instant replays and umpires in the MLB. Like I was saying, if you take a look at that rule that says you have to have enough evidence to overturn the call on the field, that's essentially saying that the people in New York, like James said, have full confidence that the call made on the field is most of the time going to be right. And my question is that something we need to remove? Because, the umpires...
yes, the bias needs to be removed.
I don't even know if it's biased.
I see. I don't think it is biased.
Well, it's bias of not wanting to go against the call on the field because I think part yes.
evidence.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
That needs to be... I personally think that needs to be removed. Because
yes,
we can't
both
just
of them
assume
need
these
to be
guys
removed.
are always right because we've seen 2 times in the past 8 days they're not always right.
See,
and they're very wrong.
And they're
sometimes.
very
It's not
wrong.
just that they're wrong. They're very wrong.
Yeah.
See, but here's my thing. Missed calls like this hurts baseball's ratings. It frustrates fans, and it just makes them angry. I don't think that Major League Baseball umpires are willing to sabotage that just because of a fraternity.
To sabotage baseball's ratings? They don't care about baseball ratings.
See, I think that they do.
The umpires?
The umpires, just umpires associations, I think that they're instructed to get the call right. That's their job, is to get the call right.
So let's look at this from an umpire perspective. Over the past week, if you're an MLB umpire and you see this stuff happen, what do you do?
If I'm an MLB
and defend these guys?
If I'm an
or what?
MLB umpire and my friend is an umpire and he's making the wrong calls, I'm willing to correct my friend. I'm willing to say you messed up.
But they're not going to do that because, like James was saying, it's a brotherhood.
That's what I'm saying. I'm frustrated that they're doing it. I don't think that they are doing it because it's a brotherhood. I think that they're just missing calls because, all right, it's not that they're just missing calls. I think that the rule that you are talking about saying we need conclusive evidence, I think that right there is the problem.
So what do you propose changes about that rule?
Just change it. Don't say we need full-on conclusive evidence.
So,
I think that they're pushing that narrative too much. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying, but the problem is until you do something like what James said, where you put a former player in charge of that.
I think it's a great idea.
Until you do that, changing the rule is not going to do anything because the umpires in New York are still going to want to protect their guys on the field and be like, well, they're right most of the time. You're always going to have that bias. I agree 100%. I don't know why we're having the people determining whether or not umpires are right being umpires. That doesn't make any sense. That's the same exact group of people. And I know what you're saying. Look, at the end of the day, the umpires are trained to get the call right, integrity of the game, all that stuff. But it is a brotherhood. And if you travel with these guys, I don't even know how many there are total in baseball right now, but this is a close-knit group of guys, and it's not easy to get in, and you do that almost your entire life most of the time. You grow with these guys, and whether or not you want to admit it, you're going to be biased towards protecting them.
I think they tried not to come into that mindset. I think that they do whatever they can to just focus on getting the call right. I just think that they're blatantly missing the call.
So then how do we fix that problem? Go down to umpire school? At this point?
I do like James' idea, though, of having
a player
in there. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that idea, too. I think it'd be a way to, at least in a PR perspective, I think it would sell with a lot of fans of the game a lot better. But
right now, I don't think there's a clear solution to fix the problem.
That's the problem.
That's the biggest thing.
There really isn't a clear solution, and people can talk all they want about we need to improve it. Instant replay. We need to improve umpires' call. The other big thing, of course, strike zones. We have these websites now that tell you how accurate an umpire is, and some of them are just it's laughable how bad
Angel Hernandez.
We're not naming names.
Right? The other day a home plate umpire got 85% of the calls right.
See, that's
horrible.
That's unacceptable.
He got 85% wrong?
No, right.
Oh.
Sorry,
that's still unacceptable. You can't be having 15%
yeah.
of the calls of a game wrong. Well, it's amazing to me. We're in an era where we have websites, we have this technology that tell you whether or not it's a ball or strike, and we're and hey, by the way, this is coming from I'd say a baseball purist. I don't want the DH. Pitcher should hit. I want 9-inning games. I'm crazy for that apparently, but I believe it might be time, when it comes to balls and strikes, I'll agree with Robbie, to start looking past the human mind.
One other thing that I briefly want to mention on, another thing that I want to see get just completely abolished in baseball?
Abolished?
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of things
you're not going to think of it.
The DH, right?
Nope, this has nothing to do with the DH. It's something that we have never spoken about.
Let's hear it.
The hand guard.
The hand guard.
The hand guard
While they're-
gives a base runner
while
an
they're
extra.
running?
Yes, it gives them an extra 2 inches when they're running. Did you know that?
Then everyone can wear it. I mean, it's not. It's not.
No, I'm tired of seeing it. I'm tired of seeing it.
But
It's
dude,
unfair.
it's not an unfair advantage. Everyone
it
can
is.
wear an oven mitt if they want to.
The oven mitt gives a runner an extra 2 inches.
Okay,
it's
so-
unfair
but
for
everyone
catchers.
can wear it.
It's unfair for catchers. It's unfair for catchers.
How is it unfair for catchers if everyone can do it, including them?
I'm saying that as a defender, I just believe that it's unfair because you are getting a 2-inch advantage.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've ever heard anyone have a problem with this.
See, Michael K brought up on yesterday, and
Did
I
he?
think
Oh,
yes.
Michael K is far from the gospel.
Hey, I think that it's a good point because today Randall Gritch got a stolen base because of his hand guard.
Everyone's favorite Yankee, Brett Gardner, has worn an oven mitt for the last 10 years. Michael K having a problem with an oven mitt is a made-up problem because the Yankees are not playing good
Well,
baseball, and he wants to talk about something with the New York media.
I don't like seeing Brett Gardner wear it either. I don't like seeing.
But
any
it's a
baseball
made-up
player in
problem.
general.
Who cares who wears an oven mitt?
I have a problem with it because I'm tired of seeing the unfairness that base runners are getting when they're stealing
All right,
something.
all right,
not
Robbie.
unfair.
All right.
Yes, it is.
It's
In my
not
opinion,
unfair.
it is.
So I got to know, right? We're gonna ban the oven mitt, okay?
Yes.
Now, has baseball been saved?
No, I'm not saying that you have to ban the. Why not make it so? Why do you have to give the base runner an extra 2 inches?
No, nobody's giving it's to prevent jammed fingers.
Yes,
It's
I'm saying padding it up. You don't have to give it extra space. That's my problem with it.
You know, I might have to go out with James here and saying this might be a made-up problem for the New York media this week. This is crazy.
No,
I've never
this
heard this.
is something that like the New York or Boston media would make up because their team is not playing well. Like this is not.
I don't know.
They've
This
made
is-
up some stuff before. So I think switching gears to a disappointing performances so far this year. The Chicago Cubs offense hitting below 200. Jock Peterson has not gotten going at all. Chris Bryant has seemed like he's been the only one who's shown some semblance of life. Javi Baez still has not gotten going. Anthony Rizzo's been fine, but like overall that Cubs offense is not hitting. Ian Happ has been hitting.
All right, look,
Yeah.
I got to ask the question. We did this last week, or a couple weeks ago, actually, with some guys on the Rockies. But come on, be honest with me, guys. How many of these guys are wearing a Chicago Cubs uniform in August? How many of them? Because I don't
Javi
think...
Baez is. Chris Bryant's going to get traded. You know, they have mishandled the Chris Bryant situation so much.
Terribly.
And Chris Bryant, when he's going, he's a top 15 talent in the game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And here in the last couple minutes here of our show, we're going to try for another caller here, see if this can be a little bit better with the technical issues here. So go right ahead. All right, caller, you're on the air. Who are we talking to? All right, so we're having some problems again with the caller there. Sorry about that for whoever's trying to call in. Might be a problem with, again, your landline or cellular device. But with that said, let's wrap up the show here as we are approaching 8 p.m. I mean, we talked about some things to look for this week. I think the main series you got to look out for is the Padres and Dodgers, of course. What about you guys? Anything else over the next week that's really striking you as exciting? Anything amazing? Anything that you think's going to produce some out-of-the-ordinary results for the baseball world?
The main thing is obviously the Padres Dodgers. That's Showtime TV. I think a couple big things you got to look out for is when will the Braves start to turn it around, or will they?
Can I say something about that? real
Go
quick?
ahead.
Who said here that the Braves are going to have a disappointing season 2 weeks
You
ago?
yourself.
Look, here's the thing, right? I hate the Braves. I do. But it was not a biased decision when I said that. The Braves' reign of terror was going to end eventually, and they are not looking like a good baseball team right now. Anyway, go right ahead, James.
But look, like again, the Yankees in 2019 started 6-9. In 2018 they started 5-8. Like I'm not concerned. I'm not panicking with the Braves yet. I think they're going to turn it around and be just fine. But that's something to watch. Like when will they get it going? Another thing, the Cubs offense, will they get it going or will they continue to stumble? And when will those guys get traded? You know, obviously some of those guys will get traded. And then I think from a positive aspect, you know, those are two disappointing performances. I think flipping switches now to a positive performance. When will the Mets score runs for Jacob deGrom? You know, he's pitching again tomorrow. Will he get a win against the Phillies?
I hope not.
Well, yes, but will they score? Will they score 2 runs for Jacob deGrom? Like we're not asking for much. I think all they need to do is score 1 or 2 runs because Jacob deGrom probably isn't giving up more than 2 runs.
The one that I believe the only run he's given up this season was that Jazz Chisholm home run.
That's it. That's it. He's pitched 19 1/3.
He's given up 1 run, and he's got nothing to show for it. So that's pretty nice. You know,
and the Red Sox are 9-3. They just beat Minnesota 9 in a row, the hottest team in baseball.
You know,
They
you
did.
guys were talking about interesting series. I think next week the Blue Jays and Red Sox could be an interesting series.
Blue Jays, Red Sox,
Yeah.
definitely going to be one to watch there, because you got the of course Red Sox with
Yeah, the
how
Red Sox
hot they're starting, but also the Blue Jays. I mean, hey, I was maybe a little bit joking when I said earlier in the season about them possibly winning the AL East. I wanted to get under Robbie's skin a little bit, but that's a good baseball team. They really are, and the loss of Kirby Yates hurts. But I think you're right, Robbie. That's going to be a good series, and I think that's going to be one that is worth watching. You got a lot of talent on both of those teams.
The Red Sox are the only team in the AL East to have a winning record.
And
Wow.
they've got to be the first team since who knows when to lose their first 3 and then win at least their next 9.
That's right. I even forgot about that they started off with losing their first 3. How about that? What a turnaround for the Boston Red Sox. We shall be sure to talk about them next week if their hot streak continues. We'll be talking about, I hope, recapping a fantastic Dodgers-Padres series. So nice to see a rivalry like that among two talented teams out on the West Coast. Feels like it really doesn't happen as much anymore, and it'll be good to see. And especially because I believe, if I am not mistaken, gentlemen, that Fernando Tatis Jr. will be ready for that series.
I believe so.
That's
or
gonna
at least
be-
or at least soon after.
Or at least soon after. He'll at least be ready by the second one next week, which is always a good thing when he is healthy and good to go for that Padres team, one that is very, very talented and aims to take down the behemoth of the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League West. And with that said, that's going to wrap up this edition of Nation's Pastime in the Nation's Capital. Thank you all so much for tuning in on our Wednesday edition. Once again, we'll be going back to Thursday around 7:05 Eastern Standard Time next week until about 8, as you can see now. If you want to listen to our archive shows on YouTube, you can find all of that, our channel information and information about the shows on our Twitter. That is going to be at NatPastimeCap. That's going to be what you want to go ahead and follow for all of those. And other than that, that's going to do it here in the studio in Washington, D.C. Have a fantastic rest of your week, everyone. Enjoy some baseball. Enjoy a couple great series. And have a good night.